Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I want to say a huge welcome to our distinguished guests to Desert Arc's press conference. My name is Damien Jenkins, and I'm the chair of Desert Arc's board of directors. We are honored to greet you at our Palm Desert campus on the ancestral tribal land of the Las Palmas Band of Cahuilla Indians. I am joined by fellow board members today. Please stand when I call your name. Doug Watson, board treasurer. And past board chairs, Brooke Berry and Rob Anzalone. On behalf of our board of directors, staff, and most importantly, the 700 individuals with disabilities served by Desert Arc's mission, I would like to express our deepest gratitude to Congressman Raul Ruiz, here on my right. Welcome and thank you so much for being with us. I'd also like to recognize the leadership of the Desert Healthcare District and Foundation for advancing community wellness in the Coachella Valley and being here today. Please stand when I state your name. Chris Christensen, Interim CEO and Chief Administrative Officer. Board Member Dr. Les Zendel. Donna Craig, Chief Program Officer. Okay. Alejandro Espinoza, Chief of Community Engagement. Will Dean, Director of Communications and Marketing. Erica Husky, Grants Manager. And to my right, the dedicated members of our community's Emergency Medical Service Corps of First Responders. Thank you so much. Stand. Yeah. Welcome. I am humbled to know, and I have the privilege of connecting this fine gentleman to Desert Arc a few years ago, and now to you today, the founder and CEO of Heart Vantages, and our moderator for this panel discussion of subject matter experts regarding the critical importance of automated external defibrillators. Please join me in welcoming my good friend and colleague, Rich DeRose. And a warm welcome as well to Mayor Karina Quintanilla, who's in attendance here today as well.
Thank you, everyone. It's a privilege to be invited here and moderate this wonderful event. With the initiative of AEDs being placed in all the vehicles here at Desert Arc, generous contribution by the Desert Healthcare District and Foundation. But before I get started, I also want to bring to the front, if you don't mind, ladies and gentlemen, all of the fine personnel that have participated today, taken time out from their busy schedules as lifesavers out there in the community. I'd like to bring all of the personnel up here from AMR, Medical Response, Reach Air. I have, in particular, two flight paramedics and a flight nurse, correct? So I have Celeste Laskin, Reach Flight Paramedic. And I also have Tiffany Merritt with Reach Flight Nurse. And, sorry, first name, the pilot. Ralph? Thank you, Ralph. Ralph is the pilot of the Lifeline Air Ambulance at Reach Air. I will want to mention that this is not a cheap visit, right? We all know the expense that we can have accumulated if you're ever airlifted by an air ambulance service. But to take it out of commission right now and actually landed here with Dr. Raul Ruiz, Congressman Ruiz, with obviously the flight personnel on board, and to stay here during this important event is truly a wonderful contribution on their behalf to the community, not just their service in helping us when we're in need of help. So thank you again to the air crew of Reach Air. We also sitting in the back as well, so we have some EMT paramedic firefighters in attendance as well. So I'd like to thank them. And thank you to all of you gentlemen and women for your service to the community and public safety. I really appreciate it. Having been a former paramedic firefighter myself, as well as a flight paramedic with in Orange County and with the United States Navy, I'm a veteran of the first Iraqi war, to give you any indication of my age. And of course, I was proud to serve the country, but it was a wonderful career path for me. I did not retire from that. I ended up starting a consulting business. But I wanted to give you at least my minimal qualifications to stand at this podium, having a true passion for healthcare, right? So our nonprofit, Heartvantages, which was the provider, we're a Philips healthcare distributorship. That's one of our revenue legs for the nonprofit, and we like to take those funds and actually contribute them back to the school districts, donating AED devices, automated external defibrillators to schools. We also have a mentoring program where we actually mentor those individuals that are interested in career paths with becoming firefighters, EMTs, paramedics, nurses, doctors, with one-on-one mentoring services. So we're very proud of that. And to date, I can honestly say we've trained about 190,000 high school kids in CPR and AED training over the course of that time. So we're also proud of that. I want to thank Desert Arc and all of their personnel here as well, and the partnership that we have with Desert Arc in the distribution of 63 AED devices in all of their transportation fleet vehicles. That is a huge endeavor, both financially and logistically. But I will tell you that now you have 63 more attentive potential lifesavers out there on the streets in the community when they're conducting their normal day-to-day business, transporting the disabled and those to work assignments, training assignments, and to and from residences as well. So I want to thank Desert Arc for your partnership with Heartvantages as well. Thank you very much. What I'd like to do is introduce Richard Balaco, Desert Arc President and CEO. He'll be our first speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Rich. What a great day. What a landing, by the way. That was pretty cool. Anyway, thank you, Rich, and the Heartvantages, and our deepest gratitude to you, Congressman Ruiz, for your passionate support of Desert Arc's mission, and to our esteemed panelists and to everyone attending Desert Arc's press conference today to showcase the critical need of AEDs, automated external defibrillators, especially with people with disabilities. My thanks to our incredible board, some of them who are here today, thank you very much, and staff for organizing today's program, with special recognition to our clients, cafeteria, facilities, landscape maintenance, program, transportation, business services, and leadership teams. And thank you, Shayra Hernandez, Congressman Ruiz's Director of Stakeholder Engagement, Will Dean and Andrea Halis from the Desert Healthcare District and Foundation, and for Reach Air Medical Services and generous involvement with an amazing helicopter ambulance arrival of Dr. Ruiz, and Madeline Zuckerman, Marketing and Public Relations and Mercury Film and Television. Thank you very much. Your belief in our mission to enhance the lives and create opportunities for people with disabilities is greatly appreciated. In pursuit of creating the safest possible environment for our 700 clients, adults with disabilities, Desert Arc purchased AEDs a few years ago for all of our program sites, followed by a pilot development of AEDs on 4 of our vehicles, supported by a grant from Bighorn Cares. Fast forward, we applied and received a generous, unprecedented grant from the Desert Healthcare District and Foundation to equip our entire transportation fleet with 63 AEDs. We have a big fleet here, folks. A lot of buses, a lot of moving vehicles. Based on the fact that people with disabilities may be at higher risk of cardiac issues, given their often medical fragility and vulnerability, Desert Arc believed it's imperative to have these life-saving medical devices on all of our buses, vans, and service vehicles as we provide daily, Monday through Friday, curb-to-curb, round-trip service, home and to return from programs and or for jobs for our clients. We have also invested in bus aids to accompany the bus drivers, to assist our clients and be on call in case of an emergency during transit. All of our staff are trained on the use of AEDs and are certified in CPR and first aid. We established a healthcare program over a decade ago, including 2 full-time licensed vocational nurses, generously supported by the Desert Healthcare District and Foundation and the Houston Family Foundation. We are duly grateful as is not funded by the state of California. Eugene, are you here? Stand up, please. Eugene is our nursing supervisor and has been the heartbeat of Desert Art's healthcare program for 16 years, folks. 16 years Eugene has been with us. Many of our clients would not be able to participate at Desert Art's vital programs without the ongoing care of our 2 LVNs. May is National Nurses Month, but Desert Art celebrates Eugene and Valerie every day. Thank you to all of you for being here today, and I really appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Dick. All right, at this time, I'd also like to make another special introduction to Chris Christensen, Interim CEO and Chief Administrative Officer for Desert Healthcare District and Foundation.
Thank you very much for the introduction, Rick, and also to Desert Art for having the Desert Healthcare District and Foundation be here to be a part of the panel and represent this wonderful event that we have today. The Desert Healthcare District and Foundation recently awarded $291,000 grant to the Desert Art to fund, staff, and the acquisition of 63 AEDs for its clients. For us, it was one of the easiest and most important decisions of the past year. Placing AEDs on buses and other vehicles that transport Desert Art clients to and from their homes is a life-saving action in the event of an emergency. Sadly, it is a program that is not yet funded by the state of California. However, as a healthcare district whose mission is to achieve optimal health at all stages of life for all district residents, we value and deeply appreciate the work of Desert Art. Serving hundreds of adults with disabilities each year, Desert Art makes it possible for many of our most vulnerable residents to live, work, and socialize at their highest potential. It impacts many families across the Coachella Valley. In addition to AEDs, the district grant funds a licensed vocational nurse, their travel and personal protective equipment. An essential component of the grant supports its Desert Art's board-certified behavioral analyst who provides behavior assessments and support plans for individual clients. All of these efforts combined fundamentally align with the healthcare district's strategic priorities and goals to increase equitable access to primary and behavioral health care in the Valley. We are honored to partner with Desert Art and look forward to future opportunities to work together. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. All right, at this time, there's a lot of, hard to believe, we're in what we call the 5th generation of AED devices. These were introduced to the general public back in the early 2000s. Defibrillation, automatic external defibrillators have been around for many, many years on the healthcare side of it, but not so much on the civilian side, right? Lay people, non-healthcare providers. So I'm going to demonstrate one of these devices so you can get a better understanding of exactly how they work, how simple they are to use, and how critical they are that we get more and more of these into the general public's hands, not just in public places, but those that have an understanding of the use and why we use them on a daily basis. And I'm not going to use the mic for this part of it, just because I have to use both my hands. So this is one of what are 5 major manufacturers of automated external defibrillators. This is called a Philips HeartStart on-site AED machine. It comes with both adult pads and pediatric pads. So adult pads last about 2 years expiration, and then also the pediatric pads for those newborn up to about 1 year of age. And if these were not available, the safety that's built into these devices is remarkable, that you could still use the adult pads on an infant. However, you would just have to place them in a different area. Okay? And that's all part of the training as well. But no one should be intimidated. There's a lot of safety that's built into defibrillators. But the understanding of why we're using it is a misconception that these are designed to actually restart a heart that has stopped completely. That's not the case. But typically, you come upon a person who is unconscious or non-responsive, we really don't know what's going on. And even if you've had formal training in CPR or AED and first aid, our assessment is to determine if they have some vital signs, right? Breathing and pulse. This machine will do just that. It will determine whether or not this person is experiencing a cardiac event, conscious or unconscious, that can be cardioverted, all right, with electrical shock. And there's a lot of safety built into it, like I mentioned. So you couldn't accidentally turn this on and shock someone if they had an existing heartbeat. I always joke that, if the kids were to get a hold of these in the schools, they couldn't take it off the wall and use it on another child as a joke and try to electrocute them using an electrical shock from the defibrillator. The machine would know that, in fact, it's not necessary. In the worst case scenario, if a shock is not advised, it would then tell you to begin CPR, and there's a cadence, so that there's a beeping sound. And all you have to do is simply place your hands in the middle of the chest where it describes you need to place your hands, and it actually talks you through the CPR process as well. Everybody understand? Very simple. Now, I can activate this 2 ways. One, I can push the on-off button, or I can actually pull this lever on the cartridge, which will activate it. Now, this is an actual live device. So when I pull it, it will start going through those verbal commands that help the person using it through the process. You can't get ahead of it. It cannot get ahead of you. If you don't do the step it's telling you to do, it won't go to the next one. It'll keep repeating that same instruction over and over again. All right?
Begin by removing all clothing from the patient's chest. Cut clothing if needed.
All right, so now there's going to be a slight delay because it is giving me that time to actually remove clothing or to actually use the shears that are in a first
When
responder kit
patient's chest is bare,
and actually do that
remove
procedure.
protected cover and take out white adhesive pads.
Now, it will know once this is separated from the device.
When patient's chest is bare, remove protected. Look carefully at the pictures on the white adhesive
Sometimes I
pads.
feel like a flight
Peel
attendant.
one pad from the yellow plastic lining.
It does not matter which pad you take off first.
Place pad exactly as shown in the picture. Press firmly to patient's bare skin.
And then, because this is a mannequin and not a real victim, it may not jump to the next
When the
step.
first pad is in place, look carefully at the picture on the second pad. Peel the second pad from the yellow plastic lining. Place pad exactly as shown in the picture. Press firmly to patient's bare skin.
All right, now I'm going to stop it at that point. Because this is not a real victim, obviously, it will not go on to be able to properly analyze. But at that point, it will say, analyzing. Shock advised. Everyone stand clear. No one touch victim. And then at that point, if a shock is advised, this little lightning bolt will light up, it will scream at you, and you just simply push it. You'll see the body jerk up just slightly, which would obviously indicate that the electrical shock has been induced to the body. And then either a second shock will be advised, or it will simply tell you to begin CPR at that point. So that's how easy it is to use. You can't misuse it, you can't get ahead of it, it can't get ahead of you. So there should be no intimidation of using these defibrillators, which are now readily available in public places. All right, now, having demonstrated that, HeartVantages would like to do a special presentation right now. Eugene, could you come up here? Eugene, again, Director of the Nursing Staff here at Desert Arc. Thank you. On behalf of the HeartVantages
nonprofit here in the Coachella Valley, we understand how important your role is to the clients of Desert Arc. We know that you provide a valuable service to them when it comes to their daily care. And of course, in the case of emergencies, even though we have these AED devices here in every one of the buildings with Desert Arc as well as on their vehicles, we would like to present a automated external defibrillator HeartStart on-site with a first responder kit to your department solely for the 2 nurses that provide care to all of the clients of Desert Arc.
All right, it is now my profound honor to introduce our panelists for today. First of all, and you saw what a wonderful entrance Dr. Raul Ruiz had. I know Doctor is a congressman, but coming from the healthcare field, and I know he's just as passionate as I am about patient care, right, and critical care especially, being an ER doc, that I like to refer to him as Doc. Thank you, Doc, for being here. Next to Dr. Raul Ruiz, we have Ricky Harvey. He's the fire captain paramedic for CAL FIRE, Riverside County. Thank you for your attendance. Next to Ricky, I forgot, is Aaron Hartney, Operations Director for both AMR and ReachAir. You saw their entrance with their ambulance. Thank you, Aaron, for being here. And then we were having a representative from Orange County EMS, and if you could just introduce yourself, also with AMR, correct?
Correct. Gary Dillon, Paramedic Operations Supervisor here in the desert.
Thank you for being here. I always like to get a universal perspective on how important these devices are, and so what I like to do is first ask Dr. Raul Ruiz, and again, thank you for being here, Doc. We know how important these devices are out in the general public. And let's see here, and I just had one question. Sorry for the confusion. Given your years of experience in the arena of critical care medicine, can you share with us your opinion about the chain of survival and how it relates to the time and type of patient care that a person can receive pre-hospital or in a pre-hospital situation? In other words, how important are these AED devices, do you believe, in your opinion, out there in the general community?
Would you like me to answer from here? Thank you, and thank you for that introduction, and thank you to Pilot Ralph and Celeste and Tiffany for a very safe ride, and thank you to the fire men and women who were there guiding us and watering the dirt so that we can have an even safer, more visible landing. So thank you guys. I was a flight physician in a previous life and would transport critically ill patients all the time. We'd take shift at Stat Medevac out of Pittsburgh, which was the second largest network of helipads and civilian transportation in the nation. The number one slot went to the Pentagon. They had the most drop-offs and takeoffs, but we were number 2. And we oftentimes had patients on a cardiac monitor, which was also a defibrillator, but there are not AEDs. But there was another time that I flew on an airplane as a civilian, and a man started to lose consciousness, and I couldn't find a pulse. So we put him down on the aisle, and the flight attendants came with an AED, and they put it on, and I still couldn't find a pulse. Started applying CPR just initially because the 2 main factors for patient survivability is going to be CPR, the quality and the speed of which somebody applies CPR to continue to perfuse the brain, and 2 is the treatment, which would be defibrillation or cardioversion of a cardiac arrhythmia. And And so when we put the pads on, luckily, it advised, once we did all of that, and it advised no shock advised, because they determined that he had a rhythm that shouldn't be cardioverted, and that was good for me. I was good. And so we just then identified the pulse and did all the other protocols that we needed to, but we had to have an emergency landing. And that was the first time as a congressman when I was on a plane that I responded to a plane emergency. But there's no doubt that the speed of which an individual can get the treatment of cardioversion or CPR, especially in an out-of-hospital cardiac arrest, is of vital importance. It can make the difference between life and death, and the quality of CPR can also make the difference between a person who is still cognitive functional, meaning that they can still have brain capacity, or they're going to be in a vegetative state. And so those are very critical issues. And so I know from firsthand experience that having AEDs at your sites in every vehicle is going to be a lifesaver. Perhaps maybe one day for one of your clients, but maybe the driver, maybe a bystander around the area, because it's for anybody around who it goes into a cardiac arrest or loses consciousness that needs treatment.
And you just mentioned something vitally important, and that is these are what we call public access devices, right? That anybody can use them. If a Desert Arc vehicle were driving down the street and someone were to flag them down because of a cardiac event or some other issue that they're dealing with from a medical perspective, that they actually can gain board and take this automatic external defibrillator and use it on that person. Unfortunately, the Good Samaritan Acts protect all individuals involved from any type of personal liability from that. All right, I'm going to tee up this last question for you, Doc. Now that I'm going, given current research, when an AED is used within the first 3 minutes of the cardiac event occurring, the chances of survival can increase from what is currently an 8 to 10% survival rate pre-hospital to as high as 75%, maybe even 85%. For those response times to become a reality, especially in densely populated areas such as city buildings, large sporting venues, etc., we would need 38 million more public access devices just in the United States to achieve that goal of that quick 3-minute response to a device and back to the victim. High-rise buildings, we can go on and on and on. So my question is, to achieve these goals, do you believe there needs to be a little bit more attention to legislation requiring AED technologies in more public places, including and especially transportation agencies?
Yes. What a setup. But he's right, and there's definitely concerted effort in Congress to be able to provide out-of-hospital access in so many different ways. One is you need the equipment. 2, you need people who know how to use the equipment. And 3, you need people to have the confidence to quickly respond in a split second, to know where to look for an equipment, call for the equipment, and then know how to use it, right? So it's multifaceted. It's there's a lot to go into it, but then from there, you need to help support the paramedics and EMD to be able to go on scene. And then if there's not if you're in a rural area or the local hospital doesn't have a capacity to deal with that kind of emergency, then you need the helicopter, the medevacs, to be able to transport them. So it's all connected, and I have had supported legislation, and advocated for the helicopter medevac, as well as paramedics and fire departments, in order to build their capacity to help service the patient, because this in emergency care is a continuum of care, all the way from what the outpatient to the emergency department to critical care to the ICU, and then back down and out the hospital. But this component of it is focusing with the lay population, civilians in the remotest areas, in the schools, in the workplace, and building the capacity to help them deliver the care. So yes, there is room for growth, for funding, for training programs, and look forward to working with you to get it done.
Thank you, Bob. Look forward to those bills hitting the table. All right, thank you, and I appreciate your feedback. And great work that you do as well, from both the legislative start but through the community, and I appreciate that. All right, on to Fire Captain Ricky Harvey. Obviously an extensive background. You've been with with CAL FIRE for a number of years. You've demonstrated your ability and leadership skills. You've been here in Riverside County, I understand, though, not for a very long time, right? Like 2023?
I'm actually born and raised here.
Are you born and raised here? Oh, okay.
And I've been with the department for 24 years.
24 years with Riverside County CAL FIRE.
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Then I'm going to tee this question up for you. As the number of AEDs in public places grows, and we do see these more and more often, I'll tell you that Icrashire Arena was one of our accounts as well, and we put 24 of them in that building. They're every 150 feet on all concourses. You know, they're easily accessible. But given your experience as a paramedic firefighter in the field for so many years and dealing with patient care, as the number of AEDs grow in public places, what impact has this had on that chain of survivability, as we call it? The ability for out-of-hospital cardiac arrest to have an increased chances of survival. Are you seeing these devices used more and more prior to arriving? If you could answer that for us.
Good morning, everybody. To speak on the chain of survival, it's such an important thing to understand. There's links in a chain. Every link has a specific function, starting from the early recognition of somebody going down, next somebody needing this device, needing CPR, understanding that you need to call 911. Once 911 arrives, then we can continue care. That transition of care is so important, and if it started early and quickly and all these components were activated when they're supposed to, then the outcome of the patient is going to be at the highest success. So if somebody has a cardiac arrest and they're late to have these items delivered, they may survive, but what quality of life do they have if they survive? So our goal is to have the public access, the early access, quickly having these devices available and services available so that we can provide the best care, the advanced care and the quality care that our patients are going to need to have a great chance of survival and a great outcome from the hospital. We had a recent event, just very recent. The Sheriff's Department actually moved to put AEDs in their vehicles, and during an event, the Sheriff's Department identified the need for an AED. They have them in their trunk. They grabbed it, they utilized it, and this individual was resuscitated and walked out of the hospital only days later. We actually recognized this group a few days ago, and just a great experience, and it's great to know that these devices can save a life. That access is so important. They have to be in all of these various locations in order for it to be successful. When you need these devices, it's unpredictable. I was on a golf course recently, and an individual was defibrillated with one of these devices at a golf course. By the time we arrived to the patient, he didn't even want to go to the hospital. He actually was against going to the hospital because he felt fine. It actually saved his life and reversed him from this lethal heart rhythm that he was in, and with some convincing, we were able to get him to go and be seen. Just another example. I think the partnerships that develop from if people are using these devices, and we will get to come in and assume care. I think our relationships and our customer service for the public is just going to be even better. Once again, the out-of-hospital statistics with these devices, once they've been applied and the whole chain of survival has occurred, the outcome is what we're really hoping for patients and for families. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Captain. Now down to Aaron, again, Operations Director for ReachAir and AMR. What a great partnership that is. American Medical Response nationwide, one of the largest, if not the largest, EMS transportation company in the country. And I know Aaron has a great responsibility with dual roles there with each agency. So I'd like to just give you the opportunity to give just a brief background about your experiences with ReachAir and AMR, and any personal stories in relation to the AED devices, obviously, that your employees and staff use on a routine basis.
Thank you for that, and good morning, everyone. So Aaron Hartney, Director of Ops for ReachAir and AMR. Happy to be here. Thank you, Congressman, for the invite. I think, to echo what the Congressman said, as well as Captain Harvey, the chain of survival, there's a lot of complexity to it. And really, in any injury or disease process, efficiency is your friend. So the more efficiently that we can not only start the process of first response, but also initiate CPR and get defibrillation on board, really does have an impact. I think a lot of times we're pretty good about community education to sidewalk CPR, hand-holding CPR, but a lot of people might not fully understand that that's often just a bridge. It's a bridge to electrical intervention, which is exactly what this platform, this AED platform does. And then I want to tag off of a couple statements Captain Harvey made just with sort of the complexity, not only in that initial chain, but everything else that has to go right after that. So we have first response in the room, we have hospital partners in the room, flight, EMS, and I think a lot of people look at us as, okay, the fire engine's on scene, the ambulance is on scene. That's sort of where the visibility stops. But there's a whole lot of other links in that chain that have to go right through collaboration, through good agency partnerships, good communication between agencies and transitions, ultimately to definitive care, whether that's via ambulance, whether that's via helicopter, but getting to that surgical intervention. So, I'll pause there and just thank the agencies in this room for the collaborative partnerships that we have and being able to effectively do that on a daily basis. For AEDs in the public arena, I'll say that when I first started in the fire service, sometime back, we did not have AEDs on all of our fire engines. And to see us get to a place where now certainly the engines have it, but we're seeing them out in the community, absolutely has an impact to survivability and quality of life.
Thank you, Aaron. Great words. And, it does bring the attention to the fact that, these technologies keep getting better and easier to use and more efficient in what they're trying to accomplish as far as cardiac events is concerned. And when I first started back in the late 1980s, you're right, defibrillators were not routinely seen or even used even with EMS vehicles. And I can't tell you how many times I got to the scene of an incident, myself personally, on a professional level, and you've got 10, 15, 20 adults standing around and nobody's doing anything. And for every 1 minute that goes by, you're losing about 10% of your viability. So even though we shoot for very quick response times here in Riverside County, and in particular in the Coachella Valley, 4 to 6 minutes is not unreasonable. But if it takes 8, 10, or 12 minutes to get to you, how viable is that person? No matter what type of advanced life support they receive from that moment moving forward, all the way through to the ER docs that are treating them as well, right? Almost zero. Very frustrating for me. And so to see these devices more and more out there in public is very exciting. And we do need a lot more. You know, we see fire extinguishers everywhere. We see first aid kits. We have a lot of training that goes on through American Heart Association and Red Cross, but yet we need more ND machines. And so this initiative at Desert Arc, and with the cooperation and funding through Desert Healthcare District Foundation, is tremendous. What a huge impact it's going to have here in the Valley. And then lastly, I know coming from a veteran as well of the EMS world, if you could just share maybe a true life, unique true life save story using defibrillators.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me. Being in EMS for now 30 years, and working along with Captain Harvey and working with the Cal Fire Partners here in the back on different calls here in the county, especially here in eastern Riverside County, I've been able to see and witness and participate in calls where the AED was applied. One instance was at Agua Caliente during a bodybuilding event where a bodybuilder went down into cardiac arrest. Our EMT on site was able to recognize that this person had a medical emergency, applied an AED, which it advised to shock the patient. He shocked him once, and the patient regained consciousness and was transported to the hospital and went home. One of the other calls I got to participate in was actually a call in the city of Palm Springs on a residential street. SoCal Edison was doing some work in the area, and they heard somebody call for help. The team walked over to where they were doing it, and they saw a gentleman pass out of his vehicle, and his wife was very frantic. They've all had training. The one gentleman went back to their vehicle, the SoCal Edison vehicle, and grabbed their AED and called 911. Upon our arrival, they had already shot the patient twice, and when we got there, the patient did have a pulse at this point. After their CPR early intervention, he was transported to the hospital alive and back. Again, like Dr. Ruiz and Harvey, Captain Harvey and Aaron, I'll say that the chain of survival is very important in that early recognition and starting those first initial steps and getting the patient to definitive care. Excellent, thank you.
All right, thank you, panelists. I appreciate your feedback and your honest responses to some of the questions and your personal experiences with the technology as well. And at this time, I believe Congressman Raul Ruiz has a couple of presentations to make as well.
Yes, sir. So, this is the traditional politician, acknowledgement with the documentation, but these are very important because these get logged in to our office's congressional recognitions log and everything. But I want to present a certificate of congressional recognition to Desert Arc for working with the healthcare district and our advantage to get the AEDs and implement a system that will one day save lives. Thank you so much.
We have something for you. Oh. Reggie or Sarita. Reggie, want to come up, and Sarita too? We have a little something for you to take home. So this is Reggie, who works here with us at Desert Arc. Has been a client, and Sarita, who is also in charge of all of our programs, state programs here, etc. And so with that, our clients made you a little thank you card. So it's a handmade one, not purchased from a store. And it's just a little something we like to do here at Desert Arc for those who always help us here.
Awesome, thank you so much. That's really great, thank you so much.
I think we have an envelope for it too to go into it for you. So, yeah, little did you know you were gonna get something that didn't fit in your pocket.
This is going up in my office.
I hope so. Anyway, I want to thank all of the panelists. Shout out to the whole Desert Arc staff for all that they've done here today. Kathleen and Madeline leading the charge here at North Greenfield. Thank you. And the board, thank you guys for all your support. And all of you in the community. We're all a group here. And, you know, for Desert Arc, this is a big step. It really is. And we couldn't do it without you guys helping us out and getting behind what we proposed to you. So, big shout out, thank you. That's all I can say.
All right. At this time, I would like to welcome any of our invited guests here, including the media and our Forest Service personnel. If you have any questions of our panelists, including Dr. Raul Ruiz, if so, just raise your hand. I'll bring the mic over to you. All right. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. Having been not formally trained in CPR and these machines, I certainly would like to do that. But if you come across an incident and there's somebody's down, is it okay to just start, pressing on the chest and calling 911? Is that a good enough start?
So the CPR protocols have been evolving ever since I've left my residency training, and one of the things that they found out was that applying the CPR as quickly as possible, even without rescue breaths, have a higher chance of survivability. Because every time you pause CPR and to do a rescue breath, there's a latency to perfuse the blood once you start CPR again. And so the most important thing is to keep the blood flowing to the brain. And then of course, if there's cardiac arrest, you do this done. But the first thing to do, of course, somebody comes down, check ABC if somebody's trained, airway, breathing, and then you check the circulation, and if you don't find a pulse, then you do CPR and ask someone to call 911, and 2, to scan the room or the location for an AED. And so hopefully by the time you get the AED, paramedics will come in and you'll be taken care of. But don't forget, the whole reason why you call them is to apply that with their fancy machine, right? That's the whole reason why you're calling these guys. So you help them by getting to the patient sooner by applying one of these to the patient, and then they are going to remove that one and then put their more expensive, fancier machine on, and to continuously monitor the rate while they transport the patient. Is that correct? Right? Yes.
Excellent, thank you, Mike. Any other questions from the audience? Okay.
Thank you. As usual, I have a lot of questions that are spurring. So first question is, I think you said the national or adequate response rate is around 3 minutes? Or if we can get some sort of that, because I feel that as leaders, we need to use statistics, we need to use math, we need to use science to have the best response for our residents possible. And would CAL FIRE be the best source to take that to the council and say, we've had these many incidents, so we need to get additional AEDs to make the justification that we're taking care of our population. So what's the best way to increase access and survivability to our residents?
Thank you. Great question. So, data, what I'm talking about
do some education on this, and I talk about data and how it's a commodity these days. How, we used to think gold and diamonds and oil was, the number one resource, but data has really changed the way that we do business. So, and having good data and ensuring that it's correct and accurate, and utilizing that information to really change the way we respond, how we do business, the number of calls, what we're actually providing, the care, the things that we're doing, that data is extremely important. So there's a couple of things that we utilize as far as our dispatch systems go. We analyze that data. We have an electronic patient care report form, which is another item that we use, and we pull the data from that, and it indicates what we're doing. And it shows things that maybe what we're not doing and where we need to make improvements. So a lot of what we do these days is really data-driven EMS and decisions to really bring the accurate information. Anecdotal information or the way somebody feels. It used to be, the way that we did business, but now we have the ability to prove what we're doing and to show accurately what we're doing and how to improve and how to provide better service.
In terms of the city, for preparation, I don't think there's anybody that really is looking at, the data's there, by the way, but you just have to have somebody to pull it in together. That would be a great research study with the emergency medicine residents out of Desert Regional or Eisenhower Health to conduct a Coachella Valley-wide response time with the different calls and times of arrival. The data's there, it's collected. It's just a matter of pulling it in. And I wouldn't be surprised that the more rural, remote areas, areas that are further away from fire stations or AMR docking areas are lag more time. Now, and there is some national average statistics, but you don't want, what we do here is very different than what you do in the middle of the Kisatchie Forest in Louisiana. And I bring that up because that's where my wife grew up, so I just pulled that out. But it's very remote there, and it's very hard to get to. So there's different ways that you can get that information.
Okay, thank you, Doc. Any other questions from the audience? For any of the panelists on either side of the tables? Okay. And did you have one? No?
It was that.
Okay. All right, I want to thank, this ends the press conference. I would like to thank everyone for being in attendance. I do invite all of you as well to feel free to come up and ask any questions, maybe in private with the panelists. We also have some, obviously, EMS vehicles outside, including Reach Air, the helicopter, as static displays. If you'd like to get a closer look at the inside of these wonderful vehicles and machines, feel free to do so. We also have refreshments out there in the lobby. I want to thank the media and all of our guests, distinguished guests, and our panelists for participating in this wonderful event. So thank you very much, everyone. Have a great day.